Hello, true believers. Another day, another vlog, and this video showed up in my feed last week, and it's about corruption in the Philippines, which is normal. And specifically, this one I have personal experience with is prison corruption in the Philippines. So let's go to the video, and I'll do my commentary. So
National Police Chief, Police General Guillermo Eliazar sa Integrity Monitoring and Enforcement Grupo IMEG ang mga tiwaling pulis na pinagkakakitaan ang mga detainee. Batay sa ulat,
So they're talking about the what is that IMEG, about the police, the corrupt police making money out of the prisoners here in the Philippines. So let's continue what they have to say about that. So integrity monitoring and
na natanggap ng opisina ng Chief PNP.
so he was this started by a complaint in his office about detainees or prisoners not being released unless they were, and to be released they were being extorted for money.
Katiwaling pulis na naniningil ng board and lodging fee, protection fee at visitation fee sa mga ito. At
Protection fee, visitation fee, those kind of things. Yeah, I'll talk about that when we're at the end of the video.
gusto pang kumita, kahit na mayroong court order, ang detainee ay hindi agad
So the detainee has a court order to be released also, but they're not releasing the detainee.
pinalalaya.
Inatasan ko na ang aming Integrity Monitoring and Enforcement Group or IMEG na magsagawa ng investigasyon at mga operasyon tungkol dito. Kaya hinikayat ko ang ating mga kababayan na makipagtulungan upang matukoy at agad maparusahan ang mga pulis sa sangkot dito.
Batay sa natanggap na ulat ni General Eliazar mula sa concerned citizen, alibay ng mga pulis na nagsasagawa pa sila ng background
And the police said their excuse why they wouldn't release anybody yet is because they're doing background checks on them.
checking kung may iba pang kasong kinakaharap ang suspect kaya't hindi ito agad pinalalaya. Ngunit ayon sa general, ang background checking ay ginagawa sa araw na mahuli ang mga suspect.
But the general's response is background checks should be done while the person's in prison, not when the person's about to be released or has a court order to be released.
At hindi kung kailan palalayain na ang mga ito.
I'm also ordering all chiefs of police and other unit commanders to immediately release detainees under the custody if a court order is already issued and if the subject detainees have already complied with all the requirements for their release, except if they have other pending cases and other legal grounds to continue their detention.
Muli namang nagbabala si Chief PNP sa mga tiwaling pulis.
Hindi natin papayagan ang ganitong uri ng korupsyon sa aming hanay.
He says he's not going to allow this kind of corruption in our organization. So here's my thoughts and commentary on the experience. Okay, we all know that the Philippines is corrupt. We all know when it comes to money, scamming, it's not scamming, it's a way of life. And I've given many examples. For example, when it comes to detention, when you first get arrested, you get put in this small room. I'll do a video in the future, and with it should only hold 30 people, and when I was there it held as many as 150 people. So it's pretty packed, it's pretty crowded, and people have gone insane in there, and people have died in there from claustrophobia. You're going to have to fight those demons while you're in there. And I'm a survivor, so I was going to survive. And then so when it comes to money, I remember, so your first day you get there is you have to pay an entrance fee. So the officers inside, there's a government system that's in each jail. Okay, and after 2 months I became the coordinator in charge. So everything that goes in inside that jail you're responsible for. So they have a government system. So when you're in there, you have to, for the people that have money, you have to pay. There's a thing called an entrance fee. I think it's like $6. So once you get in there, you have to pay the entrance fee. So everybody, and if you don't have money, then you say, no, I don't have money to pay the entrance fee. Then what you do is you're put in the bottom rung of then you're what you use as a servant in there. So you don't get to sleep you don't get to sleep on the bunk. You get to sleep on the floor. You don't have privileges. You don't, you're pretty much told, you're just a servant inside there. So you're told to clean, you clean this, you sit over there, you wake up over here, you could sleep over here, when you could sleep, when you can wake up. So there's an entrance fee. And then if you don't want to sleep on the, if you don't want to be given responsibilities or jobs like cleaning or being night watch or being day watch, then you pay for this. Then you pay for those privileges, which is $6 a week also. So keep that in mind. $6 a week, $6 for, so that's another $6 a week. And then if you want to have, you don't want to sleep on the floor, that's another $6. So you're paying about $20 a week. And if you don't, then you're going to be pretty miserable not having a space to sleep. Not, I'm not talking about a bed or something comfortable, just space to sleep. So pretty much you're gonna be paying about $20 a week to be in prison. And then when that money gets where that money goes, it goes to, a little bit of it goes to the food, a little bit goes to some of the supplies needed for the prison, half of it goes somewhere, and the other half goes somewhere. So it's a business. And another, for example, I'll give you another example. When then I got moved to the medium detention facility, which is bigger. Of course, it's when you're waiting for your trial to finish while you're having your hearings, then that's where you're staying. And then if you get convicted, and if it's more than, I think more than 5 years, then you get to be moved to the Muntinlupa, big, huge prison, which I didn't experience, of course, but I experienced being in medium detention. So I already made an example about how businesses, it's prison is a business over here, and the since you have no rights, you have no privileges, you have nothing. Pretty much they can pretty much run it as a monopoly business. So I'll give you an example. In the prison where I was at, in the visiting area, one of the rules is no jewelry allowed, but they have a jewelry stand in the prison, visiting area, where you can go shopping for what they like to call silver or stainless silver. And I call it silver. People always ask me if I want to buy silver, if I want to buy jewelry in prison, and it's status. Even in prison, the saving face is important. You want to have status. People will say, "Oh, do you know so and so?" And I'm go, "No, I don't know so and so." And they'll say, "Oh, he's the one with all the silver or with all the jewelry." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't pay attention to those kind of things." And then I usually show them my handcuffs, and I said, "These are the only silver that I need here." So imagine that there's no jewelry allowed in prison, but they have a jewelry stand there. So the person that's been there for a long time was actually in charge of that, and he pays rent for that space. And there's other things that they sell, food, soda, ice cream there, and he pays rent to have those spaces there. So it's a regular business that they run over there. And separate from that, the police also have their own general store. And in this general store, they have things also that you could buy at a regular sari store. So you could buy chips, you could buy meat, you could buy eggs, you could buy some vegetables. It depends on what they have in stock, and you could buy snacks. The only problem is that the markup in there is pretty high, anywhere between 300 to 500% markup. So it's not going to be double the price. It's not going to be, it's going to be usually triple to quadruple to 5 times the price as you would normally see outside, which is fine. Then you also have the right not to buy there. But what happened during the pandemic was that you have a right for your visitors to bring you medicine, to bring you food, to bring you clothing. So those are the things that they're not going to provide that for you. You're required to have to wear a yellow shirt with the label detainee on it, but they're not going to provide that for you. They have to be has to be provided by your own family members. So you have the right to do that. But when the pandemic happened, there's no visitors, there's no food being brought in. So if you don't want anybody bringing any food to you, I mean, if you don't want to buy any food from their general store, then they just have food be brought to you. Now, so this is so things that are not allowed in prison, like those cooking stoves. There's these gas cooking stoves that we use in prison to do cooking in there, because the food that they give you is not enough. All you get is 1 cup of rice and broth. So you're not going to be able to survive on that. You're going to starve to death. And I've personally seen somebody starve to death over, I think, a course of 5 years. I mean, I saw him in the last 3 years. He just ate the food that the prison gave him. Nobody, and if somebody did give him food, it would be just bread and coffee, and he had like no protein in his system whatsoever. And like 5 years, he died from malnutrition, just wasted away. So you're not going to survive on that. So what people do inside is they do cooking, and you could rent the cooking. It's like for 1 hours of use is like 20 pesos or something like that, 50 cents. So there's a lot of business that goes on in there. So those cooking stoves are not allowed, but the general store sells. Well, where do you get the gasoline for the cooking stove? Where do you get the fuel for the cooking stove? Oh, they sell it at the general store. Where do you get the ingredients? Example, if you want eggs, or if you want to buy tocino or beef or pork or bacon, they sell it over there at the store and raw, and then you just have to cook. They sell all those things there, even though you're not allowed to have a stove. So if they do a search, that's the first thing that they'll do is they'll say, "Oh, this stove's not illegal, is illegal," so they'll confiscate that. Then a new one has gonna have to be replaced, and a new one's gonna. So they'll confiscate everything from pens to nail cutters, things of that nature. So what happened during the pandemic was no visitors are allowed. So you couldn't get anything. You couldn't get medicine. You couldn't get food. You couldn't get any clothing. So for like 3 or 4 months, or maybe 5 months, no visits were allowed. So you weren't able to get any food. So all the food that you had to get was through the general store. So what made it complicated was that how are you going to buy it if you have no visitors? They're not going to give you. How are they going to give you money? So I had some money saved up. So that's what I was using to buy food while I was there in prison. But but after 6 months, they started allowing food to be brought in. So somebody could leave food at the front gate, and then they put your name on it, and then they could be brought to you. Then you have to pay the trustee some money or some food for bringing it to you. So they'll bring it to you. And then the problem with that is you're not allowed to bring in anything that, like ingredients. It has to be all cooked. It can't be any ingredients that is competing with the general store of the prison. Because of the pandemic, a lot of the businesses, the rent, all the things that come from the money that's being made from people visiting was reduced or disappeared. So more money had to be dependent from the general store, and then the general store was making it strict that for example, eggs or vegetables can't be brought in. Normally those could be brought in so you can cook your own food, but in this situation they were not allowing it because it was directly competing with the general store sale. So it was a monopoly. So that's the moral of the story, or the take-home message, is if you're going to be here in prison in the Philippines, that you're get ready to spend a lot of money paying for your own food, for your own medicine, for your own clothing, for your own space that you're going to have to constantly. So that's what's going to cost a lot of money, and then having somebody bring that to you is going to cost a lot of money also. So those are the things you have to worry about. If not, then you're not going to be comfortable. You're going to be pretty miserable. You're in prison, since you're doing a lot of waiting, you want to be as comfortable as possible while you're there. And I paid the price, not to the point where I had my own cell, but at least I had my own sleeping space instead of sharing it with, like I said, three other people or two other people, usually three to a bunk, plywood. I at least had I paid triple so I could have my own space, which equated to $20 a month, which is so I could sleep better, so I could sleep fine. And what else did I have then? And things that are required. So you're required to have your own food, buy your own food. You're required to, and if you can't be brought in, you have to buy it from the general store. Then you have to be responsible for your own medicine and your own clothes. The problem comes in is that other things are needed. For example, during the pandemic, everybody was required to wear a mask, so you were forced to buy a mask. Another thing was that we were required to buy a thermometer and a scale and a blood pressure cuff. So they're not going to provide that for you. You have to buy it. So I always made the agreement, fine, I'll pay for it, but I only pay for half. Everybody else has. So I'm kind of like, so if it costs $10, I would pay $5 and everybody else, and I would always agree to that. I just say, they want me to pay for the whole thing, obviously, but I'll say, no, I'm just going to pay for half of it. I'm not the only one using it. I'm not the one requiring it. So those are the things you have to deal with. It's going to cost you money and they're going to extort money from you as much as possible. But you just try to bargain some privileges. For example, I'm allowed to read at night because I have insomnia. I can't, it's hard for me to sleep during at night. So I do most of my reading at night so I can keep my light on and they won't bother me. So those are the kind of privileges that I ask for in return to to pay for the things that the prison cell needs. So is there corruption? Yes, there is corruption, but it's that kind of corruption. And for me, when I was getting out, there was really, we had all our paperwork already. The boss was taking care of all the paperwork. So that way I can get released as soon as all the signatures are filled and she submits them. So they have no reason. But if you don't have anybody to do all the paperwork for you or to make sure that they're filled out, then they're gonna say, okay, I'll get to it when I get to it, and that's where it becomes an issue. That's when things kind of to facilitate that's where maybe a facilitation fee comes in. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to be in prison in a third world country, it's going to be disgusting. It's going to be unsanitary conditions. It's going to be inhumane conditions. You're going to wish you were dead. And the worst part about it is you're going to have to pay for these kind of conditions also. And so they don't mentally torture you at the same time. There's a physical torture and there's also a mental aspect, a mental torturing of it at the same time. It's this internal prison bullying that they'll do because there's nothing else to do there in prison. So the physical hardships in there is from the poverty and the facilities, but the mental hardships, the mental challenges come in when you've got situations like this where every day there's people there that need money and you have money and you're always being targeted. They're always looking for a reason. There's always looking for a way. And probably there's so many, of course, annoying things about prison. And of course, there's a lot of detrimental things about prison I should be talking about it more often. Probably the more minor annoying things is food being stolen. So if you have food, especially me, I always have a stock of food. The boss always brings me food that it always gets stolen. Well, how does it get stolen if you're always there, if you're always in the same spot in prison? Usually their method of stealing is when you're not there. Usually when I'm not there, I'm when I'm not there is when the boss is visiting me or my family is visiting me and I'm out of my prison cell. That's when they come into my space and they steal all the food. And the usually it's the officers that steal the food, and who's going to snitch against them? Who's going to say that, oh, I'll bring it up and say, hey, look, my food's disappearing. Does anybody know what's going on with it? And they justify stealing of food in prison because you're required to, in prison, everybody's your family, and if you have food, you're required to share it. And I agree. I do my part of sharing, but there's food that I share and there's food that I just for my own personal consumption also. I try to do my part, and I do more than my part, obviously, but for there's going to be people there that's not enough. They want everything that you have, and while you're in prison, there's nothing you can do about it, and easily they can say, I'm in prison, so what are you going to do about it? I mean, even if I get caught stealing, I'm still going to be in prison. So that's kind of and you just kind of live with it, and you just kind of tolerate it, and you just kind of go to your level of tolerance, which I have a level of tolerance. I've been through a lot of experiences. I've been through and I'm sure people who stalk me know that I've gone through a lot of experiences that are both physically and mentally challenging, and this is just a different kind of mentally and physically challenging. I've been through experiences that required a lot of physical challenges and mental challenges. And so I usually can manage them or deal with them or face them and survive. And this was surviving. And when you don't have a choice, you will survive. So anyway, that's my shtick on the prison system, how it's run like a business. And in Muntinlupa, from what you could see, there's a lot of drugs in there, alcohol, cigarettes, pretty much. It's like a business, but it's kept on the hush hush because of money. And as you can see, if people talk or if you snitch, and it's one thing to talk about it while you're out of prison, but to talk about it while you're still in prison, like JB Sebastian, then that's pretty much a death sentence right there. So there was, it was funny is there was an attempt on his life already where he was stabbed and he was brought to the hospital and he survived. So he survived that. And who's going to be a witness to say that, like, what is he going to say? You know, what is going to be, what I imagine is one of the prisoners stabbed him, and he was ordered to do it. Who ordered it? He's probably protected, and he survived that. But what JB Sebastian couldn't survive was COVID, and that the reason why, and he died, and his body was cremated and probably flushed down a toilet, just like that Korean businessman. But reason but the reason why he was killed was that he started talking, he started snitching, he started being a stool pigeon. And that's not only the code in prison in the Philippines. That's code for prisons all over in the whole entire world. You start talking, you start narking, you start snitching, then you're going to die inside. So when you're in prison, I pretty much, okay, whatever it is that's happening here, I'm not gonna talk about it. There's things that happen in there that I don't talk about it with the boss because it just stresses her out, and I don't want it to get out. Of course, there's a lot of corruption things that are not ethical that go in there, but you don't talk about it. But you can talk about it when you get out, but you don't talk about it while you're still inside, because there's nothing cheaper than a prisoner's life in there. If you die, you die. There's hundreds and thousands of there, and one your death isn't going to matter much. People are just, okay, that person died. But I lived, and it was a shock to people. Obviously, nobody wanted me to leave. But like I said, once I got the notice that I'm free, I grabbed my personal belongings and got out of there, got out of Dodge. And here I am. If you guys have any other questions or comments, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. I'll try to get to them, but when it comes to the prison system, Yes, it's corrupt, but yes, it's a business, and that's what culture is here in the Philippines. It's not a scam, it's a way of life. So keep that in mind if you're going to be coming here to the Philippines, and it's the possibility of ending up in prison. It could happen to you, and you don't, as just like me, you don't have to be guilty. Even if you're innocent, you're going to have to spend several years in prison. And especially, they could easily, even John Doe said this, that if you're going to be coming here to the Philippines, and you're going to be doing something along the gray area of like prostitution, which is human trafficking, it's going to be dangerous, because even if you're the customer, if you're even if you're not the one doing the trafficking or the managing, as like for example for me, they're still going to file a human trafficking case against you, and that why is to keep you in jail without bail. And while they're in jail without bail, that's when a lot of bad things they can a lot of bad things they will do to you in the name of money. And if that's something vaguely, remotely that you're coming here for, then just keep that in mind. And I'm not saying not to come here, but it is the reality. And if you do find yourself in that situation, get ready, because it's going to be a painful, difficult, challenging journey. Anyway, let me know your questions and comments. If you disagree, or you want me to elaborate on any other specifics, let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next vlog. This is Bebas Only. Thanks for watching.